from Europe as polls have opened in Taiwan for a high-stakes recall vote that could shift control of the island's parliament and send a strong message to China. Voters will decide whether to unseat 24 lawmakers from the opposition Kuomintang or KMT party. Another 7 face recall votes next month. President Lai Ching-te, Democratic Progressive Party or DPP, needs at least 12 of those lawmakers removed today to gain temporarily control of the 113-seat legislature. The recall push follows months of political gridlock. While Lai won the presidency in 2024, the DPP lost its legislative majority. The KMT has since blocked key bills and defence spending. The DPP accuses the KMT of being too close to Beijing. Taiwan's government has also accused China of trying to interfere in today's vote. To succeed, each recall must get more votes in favour than against and reach at least 25% of registered voters. Polls close at 4 p.m. local time, with results expected tonight. Well, Ross, thank you for staying with us. We discussed the significance of this vote, of course, yesterday on the programme. Today, now polls are open. How significant could this shift be if the recall vote goes one way or another? Could President Lai's integrity be damaged if it doesn't go his way, given the fact that it is a risk to the opposition, of course?
There's some risk for President Lai, keeping in mind that not only is he president, but he's chairman of the Democratic Progressive Party. So he has a highly significant political role in this as well. Now, the recalls were initially launched by civil society organizations, but those civil society organizations are clearly aligned with the DPP, and DPP politicians have gone all in supporting the recall of the opposition legislators. So this is a highly partisan issue. Also, should keep in mind that President Lai was elected in January 2024, but with only 40% of the vote. The other 60% was split among 2 opposition candidates. So to answer your question, if the recalls are unsuccessful, it certainly would weaken President Lai's position. He would not have a majority in the legislature going forward for the remaining three years of his term, and that would put him at a significant disadvantage. And it would also leave a lot of wounds in society. People would say your party supported this, brought this forward, and it was a failure. On the other hand, if it's successful, he's going to be thrilled because he'll regain a majority in the legislative yuan or Taiwan's parliament, and that will enable him to proceed with his entire program for the remaining 3 years of his term.
Yes, absolutely, Ross. And of course, a potential win for President Lai. But China, of course, in the background, allegations of potential Chinese influence. But they must be watching closely to this election because it will, of course, have an impact on how the country looks towards China and in the face of continued calls for reunification.
There's been comments by Chinese government spokespeople as well as the state media opposing the recall. Of course, the recall successful recalls would benefit President Lai, and China doesn't like President Lai. So it's no surprise that China has publicly criticized the recall and opposed it. However, I don't think that really affects voters' decisions. Voters here, they're going to vote yes or no based on how they perceive the performance of the legislators. They're not going to vote based on what Chinese media says. It's getting, the statements from China have certainly gotten a lot of attention, and some people do label it as interference in a Taiwan internal political matter.
Thank you ever so much for joining us and providing that unique insight, also discussing, of course, the EU-Trump discussions as well. We will continue to bring all of the updates from that vote with results expected